In this video, we will update some table object JSON properties using the ArcGIS API for Python. So open up the updating table properties.py script from the table object folder. The table class has a property called manager that you would expect to be a table manager object, but it is actually a feature layer manager object. And as such, we use the update definition method from feature layer manager, just as we did for a feature layer. The update definition method will allow us to update some of the JSON properties that we saw in the previous video. At the top of our script, we are importing our GIS class that will enable us to access our ArcGIS Online content. We first access ArcGIS Online using the home string, and we'll assign our GIS object to a variable called AGOL. We're then going to use our GIS object and the content manager get method and supply in our feature service item ID, which I'll paste it now from my notepad. The get method will return an item object and we'll assign that to a variable called item. We're going to update the properties for both our tables. In the first example here, we are using list comprehension, where we are isolating the first table in our feature service with a name of table for training with FDM 1-to-1. So for each table object in our item object tables property, the tables property is a list of table objects. If the table name is table for training with FDM 1-to-1, then return that table object in the list. And list comprehension always returns a list, and we'll be interested in the first table object returned, and we'll assign that to a variable called table. And just to make sure we got the correct table, we will print the table object properties property name property to screen. Then create an update dictionary. We're going to set the name of our table to park maintenance information, the description to information about park maintenance, and that there is a one-to-one relationship between the park boundaries layer and this table. We'll also set the copyright text property, that there is no copyright. This is created with a final draft mapping course and free to use. I'm going to create a variable called status, and I'm going to set that to equal our table object, and we're accessing the manager property, which is a feature layer manager object, and we're using the update definition method. This has one required parameter, which is a JSON dict parameter, and that would be our update dictionary above. The update definition method will return a JSON message indicating success or failure, and we'll print our status to screen. Before running, I'll just walk through updating the second table. Here we are using list comprehension one more, but instead of using a layer name, we are using the ID property, and we're interested in the table with an ID of 5, which is our one-to-many table. We'll print the name of the table to screen. For our update dictionary, we're going to set the name to viewpoint reviews, the description to reviews left by visitors to the viewpoint, and that there is a one-to-many relationship between the trail viewpoints layer and this table. So for each feature in the layer, there can be many records related in the table. Set the copyright text to be no copyright, that this is also created with the final draft mapping course and free to use. Once more, we call our table object using the manager property, which is a feature layer manager object, and the update definition supplying in our update dictionary. And we'll also assign the calling of the update definition to a variable called status and print the status to screen. I'm just going to pop on over to ArcGIS Online. Here's the current state of our feature service. We have our layers that we renamed in the previous section, and we have our tables that we're going to rename once we run our script. If I click into the first one here, which is our 1-to-1 table, we can see the description here is currently user created table for one-to-one relationship that we set when creating the table, and we have no copyright information set, which is this acknowledgements section here. So we're going to update the acknowledgements, the description, and the name of this table. And we will also do the same for our one-to-many table. We're going to update the description, the acknowledgements, and the name. So let's head back to our Python script and we will run. Our script is complete. We can see that for our one-to-one table that the update was successful as it was for our one-to-many table. So let's head over to ArcGIS Online and check out the result. Here I'm still in the one-to-many table. We can see the old name above here, and that will change once I refresh the page, as will the description and the acknowledgements. So I'll refresh now. And we can see our table is now viewpoint reviews. The description has updated and we have added to the acknowledgements, which is the copyright property from the JSON. If I go back to the feature service overview, scroll down, we can see that the first table, which is our one-to-one table, has also been updated to park maintenance information. And if I click in, the description has updated, as have the acknowledgements. So we've successfully updated a table object JSON properties using the ArcGIS API for Python. Make sure to continue on to the next video in this series and also make sure to subscribe. Take care.